Yo guys, what is up? I am back on the mic today from Spectral Sound, and today I'm going to show you how I recreated the main bass from the song Sensei by Datsik. Sounds a little something like this. Now that is a pretty nice recreation, and I can tell you like this sound took me a long time to make. Not that it took me like it would take you a long time to make, more of like it took me a long time to figure out exactly how to make it. Because for a long time I was messing around. I knew the basics of what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be saw wave FM and maybe a flanger filter or a comb filter like that. But I was messing around for a while and I just couldn't get it. Like it was so hard to do. And I'm like, you know what? I just can't. I gotta step away from this. I actually sent a message to Datsik asking for, not for the preset, like I'm not that cheap, asking for tips and tricks, like if he could give me some advice on how to make it, and he didn't reply, which I kind of expected that, to be honest. There are some big music, artists out there that are just really nice, and they just tend to reply to a lot of their fans, and I know that's very hard for people with a fan base the size of the fan base that Datsik has. And I know it's very, very hard for him to like get back to everyone who's messaging him about stuff like that, let alone me, who I have compared to him, I have very little subscribers. So I just kept messing around, trying out different stuff in Serum until I found something that sounded the same. And eventually I did, the spark hit with these flanger filters and the saw wave FM. And I'm just gonna go over all those things about how the sound was created. First off, a bit of post-processing. I do have an EQ on here, and this is a very specific EQ what's going on, so I'll tell you the frequency of each one. Now I brought, below 150 hertz, I just dropped that down because there was a very heavy sub in this. It's partially from all the drive that I put on the flanger filter. And there was, there were certain frequencies in here at 415 hertz and 841, where I dropped it down. That just kind of sculpts the vowel and the tone of the sound. There were frequencies that just sounded ugly, and I really didn't want them. If you took them away altogether, they sounded empty, so I didn't really want that. I just wanted to duck them down and hide them behind all the other ones. And because of that, the mid-range did get, lowered. There was a lot less volume in the mid-range of the sound. So I just brought it up using this fourth one right here. Just generally, it's very, very wide, just the general mid to low range. I did do a little bit of sculpting down at 410 and, around at 8889. Oh, that's annoying. Whatever, I didn't mess with that too much. I just left it pretty flat where it was. After that, I threw a sound goodizer on it. All this is for is just adding power. Like, this is just a compression. It's from Maximus. It's linked to Maximus, and Maximus is a great compressor. Sound Goodizer is just a very quick way to add power to your sound. Then after that, just a final cutting of the very sub bass, because it had a very messy sub, because I'm not going direct out with this. This is actually going through the post-processing, and I replaced it with another sub bass in Serum that was literally just like a triangle wave low pass. All right, so starting from the beginning, from oscillator A, we are going to choose the odd pass in the spectral wave tables, I think. Yeah, there it is right there. And then we are going to drop that down 1 octave. The wavetable position is at 51, and it is modulating upward with LFO 1, 17%. The FM from B is on, and that's going from 0 all the way up to 46, so we're getting a big FM sweep right there. The level is going from 0 all the way up 75, so just from 0 to normal and everything's fine. You do want to turn the phase random and the phase all the way down for this. This is going to be critical to the timbre of the sound, especially when you're doing FM, because when you're doing FM, you want to turn the randomness down, unless of course you're using unison, which FM and unison aren't always the best together, but they have worked. I've seen it done. So yeah, that'll just make sure your sound sounds exactly the same every time, and you can control how it sounds using the phase. All right, so just oscillator A sounds like this. That's very little, like there's almost nothing coming out. I'll make it louder for you guys. I'll edit it in so you can hear the process. but it's just very quiet, know that. Real quick before I move on, LFO1 looks something like this. Super, super basic shape. You just want to throw it on envelope mode and turn the rate to 1/4 and make that shape. That's really all that's needed. All right, flip on some oscillator B. This is going to be just the saw wave, you know, the generic saw wave that it's at. The first step is you want to bump it up 7 semitones, which isn't a seventh. Someone corrected me in the last video. Thank you for that. It is simply a fifth up. It's 7 semitones, but it's a fifth in, like, you know, the music theory world, which I am not that familiar with, but I'm sure I'll pick up on it. I do have some bend plus on this. It is going from 0 up to 20%, and that's kind of critical for making the sound, to kind of just deepen the sound. It adds more grit and more low-end depth. It just generally makes it a little more growly. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but let's just compare. If I have the bend plus turned off, it sounds like this. And then with the bend plus on, sounds like this. It's just a subtle difference, but it adds more motion and more, you know, I don't know, depth to the sound. I like it. Of course, the level is all the way down because we're FMing, and you want to turn the phase randomness down as well. The phase you can put at 68%, so it's starting right there. And that's, again, going to be another big factor to determine the overall timbre of the sound. All right, flip on a sub. We are not going to use this as a conventional sub because we're not going direct out here. We are selecting a saw wave, and you can turn that down 2 octaves. The level is going from 25 up 50, and that's going to add a very nice layer going through distortion. That's just going to add a ton of meat to the sound. It'll make it a lot thicker. With the sub, doesn't sound so hot right now, but it's gonna. And for the filter, we are only gonna have oscillator A going through it. If oscillator B went through it, it'd do absolutely nothing because oscillator B is not outputting sound. If the sub went through it, it just wouldn't do what we wanted it to do. We just wanted to go through the distortion at the level we set it at. So only oscillator A for this one. Turn the drive up to 50%, and the mix is modulating from 50 up 50. So, you know, from 50 to all the way full mix with LFO1. The cutoff is going from 51 hertz up 32. So we get that sweeping action of the flanger. It's the flanger plus filter and the flanges tab. I'm pretty sure you could have found that yourself, but I'm going to say it for the sake of the tutorial. The resonance is going from 20% up 50%. So it's going from like not a ton of peakage to a good bit of peakage. Like you're getting a lot of effect there. And I might turn that on and off as I go through the tutorial just to show you the dramatic effect that it has. Cause like before the filter, after the filter, that's huge effect, and that's exactly the sound that we wanted. Beautiful, now time to throw on some effects. The first one I'm gonna do is a phaser, and this is going to be just slight, just very slight sculpting of the vowel that I thought sounded pretty nice as I was making the sound. So the mix is going from 0 up 40, so we'll never have a ton of mix on the phaser. You won't be able to tell that it has a phaser on it. It's just subtle, just subtlety. I brought the rate all the way down. The depth is at 16%. And the frequency is going from 20 hertz, that's all the way down, up 33. So I've used this kind of whoa, wow action in my basses a lot. I really like how it sounds. And granted, this is not mixed in that much, but it will add more effect when it goes through the distortion. All right, and for the distortion, I've chosen a hard clip, and this is very important, this distortion right here, because this is what's going to give it power and meat and depth. So we're gonna turn the drive all the way up for this one, and we're just gonna be modulating the mix with LFO1 from 0 up to 100%, because when it's down here, there's a lot of sliding frequencies, and especially with the filter, with the flanger filter, all those peaks and valleys shifting across the spectrum, it just gets very, very messy when it's going through that harsh of a distortion. We just wanted it up here. So with distortion, this is what it sounds like. Now we get a lot more low-end richness. That sounds really, really nice. So after that, we are going to flip on a filter. This is going to be the band reject. Again, just, you know, adding more vowel motion. That's what the band reject does best. The cutoff is at 741 hertz, and the resonance is up 72. That's pretty high resonance. Although the mix isn't all the way up. It's going from 0 up 39. So just like a little bit mixing in there. I bumped the drive up to 12% because a lot of times the band reject, if applied, will take away a bit from your sound. It'll take away the power. And I really liked how the sound was sounding right there. So it just brought it all back up with the drive. The width is going from 35 to -21 down there. And the width is what's going to create the yai, because the band reject basically has those peaks when you turn the resonance up, and the width controls how far apart the peaks are. So if it's a low width, it's going to go yaw like that. Tev, if you're watching, feel free to post that. I turned the pan up a little bit at 64%. I normally don't do that, and I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes with the band reject filter, but I suppose it just adds a little more flair. You can do that. You can, and, it's just whatever you want, really. All right, so a little bit of yai action. Now it's time to compress this a lot. Flip on some multiband. The threshold is at -8.6, and everything else should be normal. That is all you have to do for that, and this is what you get. Ah, very, very powerful sound here. Let's add a little bit of width and dimension with the hyper dimension. The mix of the hyper is at 26%. And I don't think I'm using, I am using the dimension a bit. I didn't want to use it too much because I didn't like how the really stereo wide sound sounds. I brought the size all the way down and the mix all the way down. And with envelope 1 here, I am modulating up 35. So I didn't want that weird delay that you get after the dimension expander, because you usually get something like this. And there's a weird delay at the end that I didn't really want. So as soon as I release the note gets released, the mix is brought all the way down, so that just keeps the delay at a minimum. Little bit of chorus, this is just fine tuning. Again, a lot of people would say the chorus doesn't do much at all. I think it just adds a little more width. I can hear it. If you don't hear it, then it's fine. You can take it off. The sound's gonna sound nearly exactly the same. So the mix is at 0% and modulating up 30, not much here. The rate is at 0.2, delay 1 is at 1.3, and delay 2 is at 0.0. So a fairly tight chorus. I don't like to use very wide choruses on my basses. I just wanted it, just wanted a few more voices right in front. The depth is at 11.3 and the feedback's at 10. And I turned a high pass filter on for this one. Now, if you don't know how to do that, it starts out at a low pass filter. And you just click it and it turns into a high pass filter, which is good because I just wanted to cut off these very low frequencies at 92 hertz just to get rid of all the low end junk that I didn't want to get chorused. Okay, that works. Next, we are going to throw on an EQ. Oh wait, no. Let's hear what the chorus sounds like. There we go, absolutely no change. Now let's flip on the EQ. For this, we are just going to sculpt the high end because there are some areas right in here. It's hard to see. I'll zoom in. Yeah, there we go. Right here where it just gets really screechy and really piercing. I wanted to duck those down and I wanted to raise up the very, very higher frequencies. So that's all it's doing that little wave shape. So they're both peaks. The first one, the frequency is at 17,700. And the Q factor is at 39%. The gain is going from -16.6 and is going up 45. So we are getting, that's the motion at the very, very top. I don't know why this lower filter is the top one. That's just how it turned out. That's just gonna add more high-end modulation and more dynamic to the sound. This one right here is just gonna be, stationary. It's at 7404. The Q factor is at 48% and it is down -1.9. So just subtle sculpting there. Very, very nice. And for the delay, now a lot of people will also say that this delay is unnecessary, and it kind of is. I just wanted to add a little more metallic, feel to the top. A lot of people probably won't notice it. I noticed it, so I kept it. The mix is going from 0 up 28, and the feedback is at 0%. However, it is modulating upward with the envelope. Envelope 1 is modulating it up 60. So again, I didn't want any metallic delay. I just wanted the metallic sound while the sound was actually playing. And what I did to make it metallic was I turned off BPM, I turned on link, and I brought these down to 10.48. Now I'm just gonna show you what this sounds like with the mix all the way up. That just has a super metallic feel and I love it. I just wanted to mix it in a bit. So not that much, just a little bit. Because this sound just sounded a little bit metallic. And I thought, the delay was the best way to achieve that. You don't have to do much with the filter. I just rounded off the very high end and a bit of the low end, and I kept it on normal. Finally, at the end of this effect chain is a reverb. The mix is 12%, very, very subtle. There wasn't huge amounts of reverb on the sound. The size is at 19%. The decay is at 3.1, and the low cut is at 25% to get rid of those low frequencies. Also, the high cut I brought to 21%. So we're not getting all the high-end reverb because that can get kind of messy. I just had, you know, most of it. That is all you need to make this sound, and with the post-processing, sounds like this. Again, just so you can hear, let me turn off a few elements just for fun so we can see the effect that they had. First, let's turn off the filter. Huge difference, enormous. That is the difference between a sound that sounds absolutely nothing like it to a sound that sound very, very close. Also, the saw wave up 7 semitones. Let's see what happens if we turn it down. It's still good, it's just not quite as high, and it doesn't have as much, you know, harmonic richness. Also, if there wasn't a sub, this is what it would sound like. Now, it sounds very, very clean. However, it's just not powerful. What I wanted to do is I wanted the sub paired with the hard clip distortion, because when you distort lower frequencies with higher frequencies, you can get a very, very powerful and screechy sound, which is what I wanted to do here. That's the whole idea behind a sine screech. Like, you know, the cooker lead is taking a really low sine wave, distorting it with a mid-range sine wave, and you get those super screechy frequencies. If you were to take away the lower sine wave, it would basically be a high square wave. It wouldn't sound anything like the cooker. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, leave a like below. The link to download this preset will be in the description. Along with that will be the links to my Facebook group, Instagram, and SoundCloud. If you want to support me, you can go drop a follow. Drop a follow? Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Drop a follow. That's what you have to do. If you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe for more of these tutorials, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!